Welcome to Karger Publishers onboarding webinar, Publish and Access in 2022. It's 5:30 p.m. Basel time. Grüezi from Switzerland. My name is Karger Publishers, and I'm honored to be your host for the next 45 minutes. This webinar will be recorded and made publicly available in Karger's YouTube channel. We would love to have some interaction with you. Please feel free to use the question function for whatever comes into your mind. There are no silly questions, especially when we speak about open access. You will also have the possibility to fill out a short survey about this webinar, how you liked it, and this survey will appear when you close the session. Next slide, please. So, what's on the plate for today's webinar? After a very short introduction, we will speak about open access and open science at Karger Publishers. This year, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Budapest Declaration on Open Access, which was a big landmark. And we will see where we are now in 2022. So I will give you the big picture of our open access strategy, but we also want to show you the practical side of open access and of publish and access solutions. And we will give you those who may be already in one of our agreements. We will show them how to make the best out of it. And at the end of the presentations, we will have enough time to discuss your questions. So once again, please send us questions. Please, next picture. Okay, this is me. My name is Karger Publishers. I'm the sales manager for some tiny little countries in Europe and for South Africa. Please, the next slide. Yeah, these are today's presentators. And I'm very lucky that I have some highly experienced colleagues who are working at the forefront of Karger open access promotion and development. On the right, you can see Julia Kasebaum, who is, by the way, a writer herself. But in her second life, she's in charge of our academic research markets worldwide and has been successfully negotiating transformative agreements with consortia and universities. And she also helped our US colleagues to negotiate transformative agreements. On the left, you can see my colleague Beth Bailey, an author herself. She wrote a popular tourist guide about Switzerland. So don't miss to read it when you come here. But she's also our open science manager, working at the heart of Karger's open access and open science strategy. Next slide, please. The next one. I'm pretty sure most of you heard at least something about Karger Publishers, maybe, and were in contact with our journals or books in some way. So don't want to spend too much time presenting our publishers. What is very important, Karger means family business. On top of the management is a woman. She's called Gabriele Karger. She belongs to the 4th generation of Karger. And having a family behind us means we have a long-term strategy, which is essential when it comes to open access. We are solely focusing on biomedical sciences and have been in the publishing industry for quite some time, more than 130 years. And we want to continue to play a role in it and to help to connect and advance medical sciences. And when I say advance, I want to say we want to give researchers and doctors smart solutions to make their professional life easier and more efficient. Next slide, please. So we may not be one of the very big publishers, but you can find us everywhere where the scientific music is playing, in Europe, in the US, in the Americas, of course, yeah, in Asia, also in Australia. So, but once again, I want to stress that we make this webinar for you. So your thoughts and comments are of high value. I think most of you are working in an academic library, maybe in a medical library, in a hospital. So don't hesitate to send questions or to contact us later. So I don't want to torture you anymore with my German accent. So enough introductory words. So now it's time for open access transformation. Beth, the screen is yours.
Aha. Sorry, I was on mute. Thanks very much, Gregor. And now I guess I get to torture you with my American accent. So yeah, I'd like to talk about Karger's open access and open science outlook. Next slide, please, Julia. We are open for open. That's something that we tell our stakeholders, and it's something that we live by internally. Karger has been working hard to help propel the transition to more open research. So that means having more openly available research and also more open research practices. We see open access as a key part of the open science movement. So it's currently the most active part of open science, and we take a lot of care to develop it along with more open science practices. We are actively moving towards a more open landscape, and that means for Karger and also for our stakeholders. At the same time, the last point is important to note. Markets are moving at different paces. There are different needs for different stakeholders in different regions, and that's important. If you would ask, how quickly are we moving towards open access? What are we doing for open access? We have to also take into account these different positions of our partners worldwide. So that does make it more challenging, but we try to serve everybody wherever they are in the transition. Julia? Thanks. Open access is a really important part of our strategy. Our general strategy is connecting and advancing health sciences, and under that, we are open for open. We work closely with institutions and societies, researchers, funders, and other stakeholders. And as I mentioned, we try to really meet them where they are and help them advance where they want to, whether they're kind of at quite advanced in regards of open access, or whether they're just stepping into open access now. So we try to work with them. We want to understand your needs and help you to contribute to health sciences research in the way that is right for your institution. And we see open science, which includes open access, as essential, exciting developments. And what we want to say there is that we're really embracing it. It's not something that we're being kind of pushed to do reluctantly or doing the bare minimum, but we're quite sincere about trying to move forward with the transition. Next, please. So having said that, what are some things that we're doing? And there are a lot of things that we have been working on for the past several years. There's always plenty on our plates with open access and open science, and there's more in the pipeline. But so some of the key things that we've been working on are transformative agreements. We try to be innovative and flexible with them. So we can work with institutions We will not come in with just a, a template that's sort of set in stone, but try and make it work for you. We have transformative journals, which are essentially hybrid journals, but with these journals, we are much more proactive about trying to bring in more open access papers and encourage authors to publish open access. And they are also Plan S compliant. We are also flipping journals. We've flipped over a dozen journals in the last few years, and we're launching new open access journals. And yeah, we have, and have at least one coming up this year. Another way we try to continue supporting open access is with our policies. One important thing is that we are supportive of virtually every open access mandate to date. We have never, to my knowledge, rejected an author based on their mandate. We always find a way to help the author meet their mandate, whether it's from a funder or from an institution. We also support an array of open access and open science practices. We're supportive of preprints, and we have a cooperation with medRxiv and bioRxiv to make submission easier directly from the preprint server to some of our journals. We last year instituted a really detailed section in our author guidelines about research data. We do not mandate the authors share research data, but we strongly encourage it, and we provide a lot of strong information to help them understand what it is and why they should do it and how they can do it. We have a program to provide waivers and discounts to authors from lower income countries, but also no matter where they are, if they're in need, they may be eligible for a waiver or discount. And we support DORA. We're in the process of signing DORA. That should happen quite soon, but we've already been working under the DORA principles for the last several years. We also support green open access with our policies, allowing self-archiving. We've been working really hard to improve our workflows. There are a lot of things that we've done internally. And also we are working hard now to implement Kronos Hub. And I think Julia will say some more about that later, but we're it's a huge project, but we're anticipating it will be ready later this year. And we're really excited about that because we believe it will make your authors and your lives at institutions much easier, and you'll be able to access reports whenever you need them. And it looks really good. So. And we have a task force that is dedicated only to open access and open science issues so that we can make sure to solve problems and to stay aware of what's going on and to keep moving the ball forward. I'm the co-lead of the task force, working closely with somebody who's in editorial development. And we also have a help desk, open access at karger.com. So authors or libraries or anybody can ask us questions anytime, and we can help solve any problems that there may be. And usually either I or one of my colleagues handle those emails personally.
All right, I think I will take it from here. Thank you, Beth. So Gregor already introduced me. My name is Julia. I'm going to look at a bit more of like the nitty and gritty of this webinar. So first we're going to look at what publish and access solutions means for us. And then we're going to look at how you can make the most of your publish and access arrangement. And that section should be interesting both for customers that already have a running deal, as well as those that might contemplate taking up the new deal. So for us, publish and access has been kind of at the center of what we do. That might be especially true for Gregor, who's located in the DACH region, and myself. So when we're talking about the academic markets, especially in Europe, publish and access is the topic that we discuss most. We see it as the way forward, I mean, Beth has already mentioned that it is one of the keystones of the Karger strategy, and also one of the key developments that we see for our portfolio and for our service profile. So when we talk about publish and access solutions, we mostly talk about transformative agreements. And my definition of those would be a deal where part of the budget is used for publishing services. These can, however, come in very different forms and sizes. We also offer other forms of publishing solutions. They don't have to be transformative agreements. They can also be standalone publishing arrangements, for example. So we've managed to close quite a lot of deals in the past years. We have had our first publish and access agreement in 2015. So we already have quite a good amount of history and experience to look back to, and I think that is something that benefits us now. So let me just share a little map with you. I think we're all pretty happy and proud of the spread of the arrangements that we have. So you can see there obviously is quite a cluster in Europe, but the colleagues in the Americas, as well as the colleagues in Asia and Australia and New Zealand, have managed to close publish and access agreements as well in the past years. Again, these come in very different shapes and forms. So we like to listen to our customers, and we like to find solutions that fit them and that also fit their institute or their mandates and policies. Beth has already mentioned what is a tricky part for probably any publisher, and we're not the exception in that, is you see these very different speeds in the different regions, and that is something that we need to find sustainable solutions for. I would say we've done that quite well in the past years. So our publish and access agreements usually, and there are obviously exceptions from this rule, but your basic publish and access agreement consists of at least 2 modules. So the first module would be the publishing. We usually don't limit the number of journals from our portfolio that go into our deals. What we can limit is the quantity of publishing that is included, and that also totally depends on what the customer is looking for. The second module would be access. All our agreements include the complete Karger e-journal collection. And the third module, and that is kind of an optional module, is education. So we have a Karger platform and kind of a course bundle that is called campus courses. These are 10 courses focusing on how to publish successfully. They are aimed at rather younger researchers, but they can also benefit researchers that just want to freshen up on specific topics. So how do you make the most of your Karger Publish and Access Agreement? I've structured this into 3 phases. We will take a very short excursion on how you submit to the Karger website, but let's start with the first phase, and that will be the setup phase. Obviously, every publish and access deal starts with a discussion on what needs to go in, and we keep that, or we try and keep a very open mind and listen to the customers and see what do they actually need and what do they think their researchers and authors can benefit from. We do provide a handful of materials that you as an institution could use to inform your faculty and staff about the new arrangements. We do provide mailing templates. We can also do direct mailings. GDPR is not always helpful in this context, but theoretically it's something that we can do. We just need to be sure that we stay GDPR compliant with this. We also offer publish and read banners. We put out press releases quite regularly. You might have come across them. And then social media is obviously something that is very helpful in spreading news to your patrons and authors. So if we look at the next phase, and that will be the launch phase, we do have a website that is called Publish and Access Transformative Agreements. Feel free to take a look. It lists all the running Publish and Access agreements that we have. It gives a very short introduction of what is actually included in these agreements, and then lists the customers that fall within these agreements. I'm just going to skip to the next slide. So this information is published on our website, and it's freely available. What we can offer if you want to put your institute on this list is we can keep your local language name. So you can see the example is the University of Vienna. They opted for the German name, which is obviously fine. We can also do both. So that is something that we can offer. It can also be changed at any time. Something that we also try to include is we try to list every affiliation that comes with an institution. So the University of Vienna also covers the University Hospital of Vienna. We've listed both. As you can see, the contact at the institution is the same email address. So it's basically included in the same deal. There is the option for kind of a double eligibility check, which in this example Vienna opted for. So they will verify eligibility that authors claim, and we will contact them when an author claims that they're eligible, and they then will check whether that is the case and whether they want to cover the publication costs under their agreement. So just a very quick excursion on how do authors submit to Karger. They submit through the journal homepage of the journal that they want their article to be published in. It is quite a regular workflow, so we're not very different from any other publisher. We're only going to look at step number 5, which is where we ask authors to provide information on funding and on open access agreements. So we do ask any author that submits to Karger to provide information on who their funder is. There is a drop-down menu that is quite comprehensive, I would say, but we obviously also have the option to give funder details if an author cannot find their respective funder. And then in the next step, there are basically 2 options. We ask any author that submits to Karger to either claim eligibility, opt out, even though they are eligible, or not claim eligibility. So there is basically no way around to checking whether you are eligible for having your publishing costs covered. There are 2 systems. So we have agreements that run on first come, first serve basis. And then there is a system where we hand out or we provide an institution with numbered vouchers. So you see these 2 boxes where authors can either fill in the name of their institute or they can fill in the number of their voucher. There is a link out on this page where the author can go to and they can check, is my institute on this list of active open access agreements, and they can then select the institute that they would be eligible for. The last phase would be the evaluation phase, and I have to say for me that is probably the most interesting and also the most important phase. For us, it's very important to provide any customer with regular reports. So we do send out reports on a either determined frequency, and that can be determined by any institution, or we also provide them upon request. And we try and look at these reports during the running agreement, as well as when renewals come up. If we find oddities, let's call them for lack of better words, there might be the necessity to contact an institution earlier. And just, for example, if we were to see an increasing numbers of opt-outs, that might be a case where we would then contact the institution and try and find out why do authors opt out of agreements. We can also provide this information to you, just as a side note. So Beth has already mentioned that in the course of 2022, we're going to launch a new and more comprehensive publishing service. So we're going to start a cooperation with ChronosHub, or we have already started a cooperation with ChronosHub, and trying to launch this platform now. It's going to have dashboarding capabilities where the institutions can then go and see what's the balance of my publishing agreement. They can also have eligibility checks within ChronosHub, so it's going to be kind of an extended service on publishing that we will launch later this year. If you're interested in looking at ChronosHub, or you've maybe come across them already, there's quite a nice video for institutions on the platform that gives you some idea of what it will look like and how you can use the platform. And we're going to send out the slides, and you can see the link yourself. And I think that's it for me, and I would hand back to Gregor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julia. So I think I will need some training from you to get rid of my accent. Yeah, so thank you, two of you, yeah, for presenting open access strategy and also the program here at Karger. And now it's time for the attendees, yeah, to speak. And I'm happy that you were quite active. Yeah, so there are about more than 40 attendees at this webinar from not only from Europe, also from the US and from South America. Yeah, and received one question, and I will read it. And so it's about reports. May we also get reports about who published under our agreement? So information about the author.
Yes, so under GDPR, we are allowed to give you all the information that is publicly available on the article, and that also includes information on the authors. You will also, so you will receive their name, you will receive the DOI that belongs to the article that is published. So the answer would be yes. And that is not only for running agreements, it's also for those that might be interested in launching a new agreement. We can also provide you with information on who from your institute has published with us and where. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your answer, Julia. And there is a more political question. And yeah, the person who asked the question says thank you to you, Julia. Just and yes, the question is: we see quite a difference in the open access transition speed in the world. is open access a first world issue problem? Would this be a question for you, Beth?
Sure. I somewhat addressed this earlier. It really is the state of open access is different in different regions, and if you're asking about first world problems, this makes me think of the issue where for open access, if an author is not lucky to be covered by a transformative agreement, they might need to pay their own APCs, article processing charges, in order to participate in publishing under the open access model. That really is, I think, a big issue that is acknowledged by everybody. The most passionate open access advocates, you know, around to all other types. I'm not sure yet what the solution is to solving this, but we are doing something that helps, I think. We do have a program to provide waivers and discounts that we give automatically for authors from certain countries. But we're also, we try to be flexible and help authors who might have other need-based issues, regardless of where they are. Yeah, very difficult question to answer. It's something that we kind of rack our brains thinking about too, how open access can really be equitable and available to everybody. And yeah, I think there's a lot of good minds putting, you know, some thought into it, and yeah, hopefully there can be some kind of breakthrough or progress.
Okay, thank you very much, Beth. Yeah, it's interesting that in the first webinar we got the question during the presentation, and now we get it after the presentation. And there's interesting question from, I think, Central Europe. Is it possible for an author to convert an article retroactively into open access when she has opted out by mistake? Julia, do you want to answer it?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for the question, and it's maybe something I should have mentioned in the presentation. So as of now, we have designated people at Karger. We call them the Open Access Compliance Desk Officers, which is quite a mouthful. What they do is they look at every article that is published, and they look at should the author be eligible or should they not be eligible. If they are eligible according to our information and they have actively opted out, or they have opted out by mistake, we do go back to them and we confirm that this is what they want to do. So we confirm with them that they want to opt out of their agreement. It's obviously still possible that there are articles that just fall through the roster, so to say. That happens especially in cases of affiliated institutions where we are not aware that they would fall under an agreement because, for example, a hospital has a very different name from an institution that it is affiliated to. So whether we retrospectively open the article to open access depends on two things. So we have agreements where it's explicitly stated that we will do so, then we will obviously open the article retroactively. And it also depends on what stage the article is in. If it is still in process, then that is doable. If it has been already published, it is quite an effort to make it open access after the fact because we need every author to agree to this step. And there are articles with quite a number of authors on them. So I would say the answer is yes. It will hopefully be a unlikely scenario, but it's something that we need to look at case by case.
Thank you.
I would just add the reason it's so complicated and why we need every author's approval is because of changing the Creative Commons license to make the article open access. And yeah, we do try to be accommodating, but it is for the authors, yeah, and for everybody, as Julia said, quite a big effort. So we do everything to work with the authors so that that won't happen. Yeah, we just try to avoid it in advance and deal with it if, yeah, if worse comes to worse.
Okay, thank you. And another practical question. How to get access to the full list of Karger's open access journals? Where shall I go?
I'd say the best way is to, if you go to the Karger homepage, there's one of the first, in fact, I think it's the far left, the first tab you can go to is for journals. And if you go to our journal list, every journal that's open access is marked with an open access logo. And the logo should also lead you to our open access web pages with more information. But also anywhere that you see a list of Karger journals, like in the catalog or price list too, they are marked as open access.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, and there's still a little bit of time left. So another question, do you also offer subject-specific transformative agreements, or are the transformative agreements always based on the full collection? This could be a question for Julia.
So I think the easy answer will probably be yes, but we haven't had any of these yet, which to me is still honestly quite astonishing, because we do have quite a big customer base of rather specialized institutions. So far, the majority of our open access agreements are with universities, however, and they include the complete portfolio. Having said that, it is possible to narrow down the access, also the publishing, if that is of interest to a specific subject, and then provide a quote based on that.
Sounds good. Yeah, and now it becomes very interactive. I get a follow-up question. Great. As a follow-up to converting an article to open access, what should a librarian say to help authors do open access the first time, since we have an agreement? Yeah, now it comes to marketing, or what can we say?
So we can provide, I think, two things that might be helpful. So we have a guide through this that helps authors go through the submission process. It comes in a PDF format. I think it's probably valid for most publishers because our submission process isn't that much different from anyone else's. And it's kind of a step-by-step guide helping authors to tick the right box at the right time. We can also provide you with quite a handy infographic that Beth has composed, I think, that gives some information on what open access is. So why should I publish open access to begin with? And also what is an open access agreement and how can I benefit from it? So these are the things that we can provide you with. Beth, do you want to take a stab at this too?
Yeah, I would add that we are, I think, just finishing up developing a sort of welcome pack, or like a helpful kit for libraries with information that you can share, links, and also a text that you could share on social media, and an email you could send. So those are some things to help you inform the authors about what's available to them, but that they get to publish open access thanks to you, and also why they should publish open access. That's on our website. Yeah, all kinds of information. Karger.com/open access. You can also, we will send you the infographic, but you can also find it there, and FAQs and some other information. Just wanted to go back and contradict something Julia said and brag a little about Karger. She said that our submission steps are pretty much like other publishers, and that might be true, but we have taken really a lot of extra care to try and make it foolproof for authors, so they virtually cannot get past the step of facing the question of if they have an open access agreement or funding with a mandate or not. So, and we've heard good feedback from one of our big partners, which was really nice to hear, that we tend to have fewer opt-outs maybe than some other publishers, because we have made it really hard to get past that step. So the author has to say if they, and think about if they have an agreement, and it right from there, it leads to the list of the institutions. So yeah, so similar, but maybe just a little better even.
Yeah, I can confirm. I also had a feedback from Germany about the submission steps, which was quite positive. Yeah, so so it shows our enthusiasm for open access, I think. So great. I want to thank the attendees for active participation. Yeah, so in these home office times. Yeah, so and not visiting time. So great that you sent us good questions. Julia, could you show the next slide, please? So after the webinar is before the next webinar, of course, and our next webinar, you can see the dates in February, different times. Yeah, it will be for clinicians and dermatologists. The Derma Compass, a very smart. Oh, that's nice. It's a new generation. Yeah. So and we will inform you in our social media channels, and also invite by email. It was a pleasure to have you in this meeting, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are, and hopefully we can meet again one day in our webinars, or hopefully in person. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.